our moderator, who is Professor Chioma Daisy Onyige. You are welcome, Prof, and over to you to walk us through this webinar series on Vision 10-10-10-10. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I sound interesting. Good evening, distinguished panelists, colleagues, and participants. I'm so happy to be here. And it's a pleasure to welcome you to today's Triple Helix webinar on venture studios and their role in research, commercialization, and Triple Helix collaboration. At a time when universities are under increasing pressure to demonstrate societal impact, governments are seeking more efficient innovation systems, and industry is navigating rapid technological change. The question here is of how we translate research into real world solutions. You know, in the university, like where I come from, we do a lot of research. We churn out a lot of analysis. We prefer solutions. However, how does it translate to the wider society? What impact is it making in the society? So how we translate research into real world solution has never been more urgent. We can see that the world is global, and whatever affects one part of the world invariably affects other parts of the world. Now, the venture studio model offers an interesting and potentially transformative pathway, not only for commercialization, but for strengthening the dynamic relationship between university, industry, and government. Today, we are privileged to learn from leaders across these three spheres, whose insights will help us unpack both the opportunities and the practical realities of this model. I look forward to a rich and engaging conversation with our panelists. But before I start that, let me begin by inviting our panelists to start thinking and reflecting on a couple of questions that I will be asking them today. I think I would like to introduce our panelists. I'm sure you saw on the poster their names. So I don't know if we can see their pictures so that we can introduce them properly. Of course, wonderful. So we have Dr. Olusoji Aina. He is a development economist and strategist specializing in sustainability, impact investing, and economic growth across Africa. As Commissioner and Director General of the Governance Delivery Unit in Kogi State in Nigeria, he focuses on policy implementation, project monitoring, performance management, building market-relevant skills, creating employment, and attracting high-level investments, including orchestrating a $1 billion DFC-funded infrastructure deal. With over 2 decades of experience spanning banking, project management, and international consulting, his work bridges policy and finance to drive sustainable development and economic empowerment on the continent. Thank you, sir. Dr. Aina, you are welcome. Can I get can we see the profile of our next panelist? Who is next? Okay. I have a very big fish in the room. We have Muhammad Aliyu Paiko. He is a professor of nutritional biotechnology in the Department of Biotechnology of Abubakar Kure University, Mina, Niger State. You can see his profile written there. And he is presently the pioneer vice chancellor of Abdul Kader Kure University in Mina. His research interests are in search for sustainable alternative protein sources in feeds for domestic and monogastric animals, especially fish and poultry, to boost food security in Nigeria. He's a seasoned academic and university administrator. Professor Paiko is instrumental in forging many local, regional, and international collaborations on research and innovation. He is an international resource person on grantsmanship, mentoring scholars on grant proposing writing to win research grants, which is very important in today's tertiary and university institutions. Professor Paiko also supervises project students at both the master's and PhD level, even though he is the vice chancellor of his university. He participates regularly in NUC resource verification and accreditation exercises across Nigerian universities and is an accredited mentor. He has published a handsome number of research articles in highly cited journals and has won many international prizes, fellowships, awards, medals, patents, and research grants. Professor Paiko is passionate about promoting entrepreneurship, innovation among undergraduate students, and volunteering in the community. You're welcome, sir. The last and not the but not the least, who is a panelist, is Amarachi Grace Aguirre. She is a digital transformation leader and petroleum data management specialist working at the intersection of energy, technology, and commercial innovation. She leads large-scale digitalization programs across upstream and national energy initiatives, delivering scalable, data-driven solutions that improve decision intelligence and operational performance. A distinction graduate of the University of Aberdeen, her work integrates AI, advanced analytics, and governance frameworks to modernize production, intelligence, and national digital capacity systems. She actively contributes to research dissemination and industry dialogue, translating data-driven insights into commercially viable solutions. She's also committed to mentoring young professionals in data and energy technology, supporting the development of the next generation of industry leaders. Thank you so much, Amarachi. You're welcome. So now we have heard about all our distinguished panelists today. I think I'm now going to start by asking them, based on their areas of specializations, about our topic today. And I believe that they're going to do justice to these questions. I don't know who will have the privilege of being the first person I'm going to be asking. I don't know if Dr. Luseji Aina will be willing to be the first person to be on the hot seat this evening. Are you available, sir? Is Dr. Oluseji Aina here?
I went and pressed something.
Dr. Oluseji Aina, unmute yourself.
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
I can hear you, but I can't see you. Okay. Can I ask you a question related to today's theme?
Yes, I think I'm back now. Sorry, I was thrown out by the network, but I think I'm back here now.
Oh,
Good
I
evening,
hope
and
you are
thank
not
you so
thrown
much,
out
Professor,
by
for
the.
having me.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're
Thank you
welcome,
very
sir.
much.
So I want to ask you, because the question I'm going to ask you is definitely something related to what you do,
Yes,
and
please.
with your vast experience, I want you to tell us, from a government perspective,
Yes.
how can venture studios be integrated into public innovation in innovation systems to create, to accelerate, for example, research commercialization, and service delivery?
Oh,
We all want to, you know, start doing engaging in innovative things. But however, there we have some setbacks, some loopholes. So
mm,
let's look at it from the government point of view. Oftentimes, when we're looking for things like funding, we always look beyond, for example, the universities. We look up to government. So I don't know. Can you throw light on this question that I've just asked, sir?
thank you so much, Pro, for having me. And it's always my pleasure to jump on very important programs as these. And I want to thank the organizers. Particularly, I want to thank Professor Okeria for giving me that very rare privilege and opportunity to be here. And I want to also thank my co-panelists and all the distinguished audience that made it here this afternoon or this evening from wherever you joined from. Thank you so much. And to the question you asked me, ma'am, I really appreciate that. You and I, perhaps we know that government sometimes it becomes very easy and is a matter of fact. And I think government has come to realize that we can integrate venture studios first by adopting models like we have the Glasgow City Innovation District four-pillar approach, which again has been proven to be something that is adaptable, is flexible, and it's something that government institutions or establishments can adopt that framework to use for public funding, basically to provide startups with grants and mentorship, as the case may be, and also create access to more like a cutting edge facilities for developing solutions to real world challenges. We know that there are quite a number of challenges that startups are facing. So if we look at that Glasgow City Innovation District four-pillar approach, it's something that can help government to quickly adopt and begin to integrate all of those framework into a kind of situation that can help the small businesses and all of the innovation centers to begin to grasp such opportunity. In addition to that, it is also going to be a complemented effort by establishing the very clear national pathways, on the part of both the national and subnationals for commercialization. Because there are quite a number of innovations that perhaps have not been patented. Some have been patented and they are yet to be commercialized. So it's going to create that pathway for commercialization, as well as it's going to create an opportunity for specifically Nigeria, in making research to commercialization policy to be able to fully implement it as it has been established and by federal government. And at the same time, it's going to also create more around a structured pathways to move research, just beyond publications that we are doing into a market-ready product where people can quickly leverage on that, unlock such opportunity, and create opportunity for startups. I hope I'm able to explain that in a way that
Thank you
my
so
audience can
much.
understand.
Thank you so much for throwing light on that. And I was particularly struck by the fact that at least government knows or agrees that there are challenges that startups suffer. And I know one of them is usually funding, how to get access to finances or capital to start up. So as a follow-up question, I wanted to find out um, what policy or governance frameworks are most critical for enabling effective university, industry, government collaboration in emerging innovation ecosystems like Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prof, for that follow-on question. And I think I also mentioned initially that the most critical framework that government need to adapt, basically, it includes a cohesive national research to commercialization policy. And I think government is already working around that. And it's important that we begin to institutionalize that policy to create collaboration among government entities. And at the same time, not only within government entities, but even like the academia, the industry, and the financiers, all of the financial institutions, development institutions, alongside dedicated research funding legislation should come into being, just like we have the Nigeria's proposed National Research and Innovation Fund, NROIF, which again is ongoing in the country at the moment. That is one area that will be able to link financing to performance, and it's going to create more like a national impact if that is fully institutionalized. And both subnationals, are encouraged to adopt that framework to be able to help, all of our startups to begin to look at beyond where they are and see that collaboration between the academia, industry, and at the same time government. This will definitely address something like around systemic weaknesses that we already see in existence. And that's by creating university-based innovation hubs, science parks, and at the same time to look at support that they can get from strategic investment to be able to overcome more of historical weak institutional frameworks that currently we witness both in government and in our institutions that has limited the collaboration between government, between the academia, between the industry, and most importantly, government. But I think we from the part of government are beginning to embrace that. And I think some of the work we are doing with Acoustic Federal University of Science and Technology and some of the work we are doing with them at the moment has actually created that synergy between the academia, between the government, and we are bringing in the likes of Dangote, few other industries, in the state to see how that collaboration can be fleshed up to create opportunities, for the ecosystem.
This is very commendable. I hope it to be replicated in all the universities, not just in one region or one state. So I just wanted to find out what lessons from governance and delivery reforms in Kogi State could inform broader Triple Helix partnerships across Africa. Because Nigeria is not in isolation and the world being increasingly global. At least let's see how we can also do collaboration. So I don't know. Do you have any lessons?
Thank you so much, Prof, for taking me up, and I truly appreciate that. And I think I can tell you firsthand that for us in Kogi State, we've demonstrated that capacity, that interest, that willingness by investing in foundational institutions such as, in recent times, allocation of about 10 billion to Kogi State University for them to revitalize the local government service commission and be able to create capable public sector workforce that will be able to drive all of government interventions in the state, and then also create more like a skilled talent pool where government and other private institutions can begin to pull from when they need people to be involved in all of that. And at the same time, we look at opportunity for effective university industry government partnership, which I told you that we're very much involved. And then particularly, I was in one of the commissioning in the in Kogi State University of Science and Technology, where we are looking at creating a vet hospital to be able to address the farmers' headers crisis and also look at where the university can begin to research, around that. And additionally, we have also looked at situations where we leverage on multilateral partnership, like the World Bank, which is supported by RAMP, Accresal project, that has showed that aligning opportunities, within the state based on international interventions with community-focused development agendas. And I think we've done that, which I'm pretty much aware of. And at the same time, which is last on my part, is to be able to the government has invested so much in infrastructure development within the university community by showing that first-hand interest and investing not only in research, but building infrastructures that can enable the university to be able to thrive and for the university to be able to work functionally and be able to provide the needed advice, cutting-edge advice for government to be able to perform better. And that is where my ministry is beginning to work on that collaboration, bringing all of the agencies, the government and parastatals, and also working with the academia, looking at my background in the academic to see how we can create that nexus that can drive development within the state. So we've done pretty well. Investing in 10 billion naira for the university on that research is a whole lot that the state has done. And I think other states can replicate that. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I hope that it will, like I said, it will be replicated outside of Kogi states. But at least we have a best practice, a model to follow. So if there's any loopholes, any mistakes, other people can, cover up, fill up those gaps. So now, thank you so much, Dr. Aina. I'm going to move on from government point of view now to academics, to the universities that we want to, that's supposed to be engaging in these collaborations. And I'm delighted to be speaking to Professor Aliyu Muhammad Pako, and he is the Vice Chancellor. Imagine the Vice Chancellor is here. So he's going to give us first-hand knowledge. He knows it all. So, my visitor, pardon me if I call you that, I want to ask you, we have heard everything, we have heard from our first panelists, and let's hear from the university's point of view. What role should universities play in nurturing or hosting venture studios as vehicles for research commercialization? What do you think?
Thank you very much, Prof. A very good evening to my colleagues on the panel and the vast majority of participants in this very, very interesting webinar. I'm happy to be here, by the way. I was engaged the first time, and I'm happy to be here the second time. If there is opportunity for the third and fourth, I won't mind. The discourse is very interesting. From the academia, if you recall, I'll take you back memory lane. Graduates 5 years away from now, nobody was talking about venture capital. Nobody was talking about startup. Nobody was even talking about entrepreneurship. But the whole shift now in the academia, we want to catch them young. We believe the 4 or 5 years students will spend on their undergraduate, we in Abdulkadir Kure University believe is a waste. You just come, you study sociology, biochemistry, and then you go out, and then you begin to look for what to do with the certificate you have acquired. And so it becomes a burden in certain instances, especially now that the job market is saturated. Every year, Nigeria keeps pouring between 2.2 to 2.5 million graduates from the university alone into NYC. And that ends up into the labor market. And then everybody is shouting helter-skelter, there are no jobs. So the university is actually the space where you're supposed to, in the belief of Abdulkadir Kure University, where your venture studio should start from. And that's what we are doing in Abdulkadir Kure University. We're a university of entrepreneurship. We believe that undergraduates, when they come, they shouldn't only spend their time and study their courses. In fact, the courses we have chosen are courses that immediately students graduate, they can already get jobs, or courses that you can enhance your entrepreneurial practice. And with the venture studio, which we have opened, we call it Green Tech Hub, Green Tech and Entrepreneurship and Innovation Hub, where students during their studies will have to find a skill that they think they want to hone. You begin to hone a particular skill, an entrepreneurial skill, which will lead to startups. And so we do startup, everything about startups in the university, we do it. We put money, universities' money into it. If we see students that are already good in a particular area, we support. And that way, we expect that our first set of graduates will be able to at least be on their own. If the job opportunity is not available, then they can begin to employ themselves with the skills they have learned in the 4 or 5 years that they are in the university. And so it is very, very easy during the course. By the way, we are just 2.5 years and 3 years old. All the government parastatals that have something to contribute, like my colleague just spoke about AgriSal, about tree planting and anything around agri-business. We have launched partnership with AgriSal, We are currently in Abdulkadir Kure University. We are hosting 10 hectares of exotic plants that have been planted, from fruit trees to all other herbs on Abdulkadir Kure. That 10 hectare of plot of land is virtually a year old, and we are watering it to ensure that it grows. So we partner with people like Acrisal. We also partner with, there is a place in, I think in the southeast, where the government of Niger State sent different young people to go and learn what they call soilless farming, aquaponics. We have integrated it with is hydroponics, but we have integrated aquaponics on our university farm. So students are learning this so that, you know, they learn to green this bellhop pepper, tomatoes, and whatever. So that hands-on, when our students are able to graduate, when they hone this skill and they are able to become expert in it on a very small scale, they can do a startup. And at the end of the day, when they graduate, they will have not only the certificate for the course they came to study, but they will be able to launch a business enterprise. That's one of the 3 conditions for graduation. Before you graduate and get your courses settled and get your certificate, you have to be computer literate. Everything now is computer driven, and digital skills are all over the place. Our students are on TikTok, they are on YouTube. We teach them all these kind of skills, and therefore it is very easy for us to partner. We have partnered so far in the last 2 years. The active MOU we have signed with government agencies and some private enterprise, we have about 5 ongoing now that are practical. So we believe that the university undergraduate is the place to be, to capture, where you will bring the government body into it. You also bring the private sector into it, so that this triple helix model can work. And at the end of the day, when the students graduate, they will be able to not only have their certificate, but to be able to say, I have a skill in selling bell pepper tomatoes, you know, to Lagos. Or for example, they have other skills that they can sell from Huawei Academy or from the other academies that we partner with in terms of digital skills. So we believe in Abdulkadir Kure University that students should be able to be taken on this path, so that when they do graduate, and by the way, that's one of the requirements. The student, by the time you graduate, you also have to have
my
launched
big
your
sister,
business.
can I cut you short there, little, because I think I wanted to find out, because I'm not sure I understood you. So when they get the skills in university, do you also give them a different certificate too, showing that they have that skill? Or
Exactly.
it's not just in telling the students engaging in the skills acquisition program, but do they have a skill, a certificate to show that apart from being studying sociology, I have a skill in bakery? Is there any paper to prove that or something? Do you do that in your university?
Exactly. This is what I'm telling you. Not only the paper, you know, we over celebrate paper or certification in Nigeria. What we are inculcating in them, not only the paper, they must be able to, by the time they graduate, is a new kind of prerequisite before a student can graduate from Abdulkadir Kure University. To get your certificate in the course you study, you must have either a loan, or in partnership with other students, you must have registered a company in a particular skill, is what I'm telling you. So we are barely 2 years old. And I'm also telling you that the university itself has set aside some funds, so that all these competitions we do for startup and everything, we already recognize those ones that hold promise, because we also have people coming from Central Bank, from all other industry partners, where we will rate these students and find out the few that the university can sponsor, so that they know we are really very serious. If we do sponsor, then it will be very easy to invite other industry partners to be able to also invest in the startups as well.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. So, but then if that's the case, then how can African University better align academic research, the research agendas, with market needs without compromising scholarly integrity? because now it's like the students seem to be, they're having their hands full. And in fact, let me be fair, to be sincere, what we're doing now, I think that in the global north, these skills, students get them in their high school, in their secondary schools, so that even the need to go to university may or may not be there. So if the skill is most important to them, it's now that we are looking at skills as a very important, because of the high unemployment rates, high unemployment rate in the country. So I want to know, how can African universities better align academic research agendas with market needs without compromising the scholarly integrity?
This is exactly the question I have answered, I believe. You see, before now, when students do final year projects, it's usually basic research. If you have been in the academia in the last 20, 25 years where I have been, you will see that projects of final year students, undergraduates, has always been just ordinary, they don't do applied research. Mostly what they do basic research, because there was no focus on this area. So at the Kure University, I'm telling you, 2 years in the making, we have already realized, and we are in the era where the government is focusing more on entrepreneurship skills, skills acquisition, so that people can be on their own. So if you focus to teach students skills based on what the market is talking about, then you will be targeting for the students to be able to already be solving world problems, using the 4 years they have of their undergraduate study. And if you are talking with the aspect of those at master's, PhD level, those academics that before, what we do publications on, we are basically just ordinary research, except for those who win research grants and are able to do impactful research in the areas where it will impact everyday Nigerian. The research mostly in the universities have always been this ordinary, not advanced, impactful research. So in this other area, academics, then you have to incentivize research in such a way people who are research into the university will focus on real world situations, so that whatever it is they do get output from those researches. They can patent them, and from patenting, then you can now commercialize. Any research that has already been granted, you have gotten, for example, 50 million, 120 million to do a very, very dedicated, impactful, applied research. The tendency is that you will be able to do research that will be able to solve problems, that people can immediately see. You can patent your output, and of course, you can commercialize it. But for undergraduates, you teach them skills that are relevant to the market. They will be able to form startups, to be able to start doing business right from when they're in the university, when they get the university's money. And then that will now trail into doing research for their own benefit, to be able to make money from it. This will be a win-win situation. You reduce people relying on government jobs. They are doing their own job. And then you are solving, again, world problems out there in the market. So I believe that is the approach that we...
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think that it's well understood, and it's highly commendable what is happening in your university. So based on what you're doing now in terms of the skills acquisition that the students do side by side with their scholarly work, what, if you were to advise other vice chancellors or other universities, what institutional reforms, for example, policies, incentives, or curricula, are needed to make universities more Triple Helix ready? What would you advise? Because you are already starting up something. So what would you advise other leaders here in the universities?
Yeah, I think what we're doing now is exactly in tandem with what the National Universities Commission is advocating. If you know, in the university, we were doing BMAT, benchmark academic standard. Yeah. Now we have moved to CCMAT, and the heart of the CCMAT, or the core curriculum, that we are doing now is to focus more on entrepreneurship. So to reduce the unemployment in the market, there are so many, before you even look in the landscape, look, for example, at Nollywood in Nigeria. There are so many skills out there in Nollywood, which no university has taught. Imagine comedians in Nigeria. There is no school, there's no university that provides a curriculum for example, stand-up comedy. But here we are in Nigeria, stand-up comedians are multi-millionaires today. There are so many people who are doing script writing in Nollywood that were never taught anywhere. It's just the skills that they learn from trial by error. You go to Kannywood in Kano and you see people. TikTok, you look at the skills that students are selling now. I'm telling you right now, we have students who are with digital skills that they have learned from TikTok, from YouTube. They are able to make money. People are even suspicious as if students are now probably in Yahoo. But no, some of these students, they just learn these digital skills, and there are so many digital opportunities available. All we need to do in the university is to provide the enabling environment, expand your internet network to cover the university, provide a lot of entrepreneurship skills available, either available on the campus or in partnership with some industry practitioners, so that you make time for what is the curricular activity, and then the extracurricular activity will involve this other hands-on skill acquisition. That way, we will be able to substantially solve the market problems, and at the same time, be able to reduce the unemployment situation by enhancing the skill set of our undergraduates, so that when they really go for NYSC, they will have already learned their skills and they can already be helping Nigeria.
Thank you so much, sir. I have just one last question. I know you must have said it, but I just wanted to emphasize, how can university leadership foster a culture where faculty and students see innovation and entrepreneurship as extensions of research?
Exactly. Just like I've said it before, is to incentivize it. And by incentivizing, I have told you, those who win grants in university, for those in the academia, those who masters, PhD, those professors, you incentivize, you ensure that whatever it is, the research they do, they are able to patent. And when they patent, they are really able to commercialize. That way, the university will make money. The students and the faculty members will also make money. They will be able to solve Nigeria's problem. They will be able to, do research which is market-oriented. And then on the other hand, you incentivize those students who learn the skills and are able to do startups from the little funds you give them in the university. Other people will be able to now come up, support them, so that as they are getting skillful and they are solving problems, they are doing market-derived things, and Nigeria will be better for it. So it's a win-win. Industry will come in, the government will be able to make policies to make this more robust, and everybody will smile to the bank, and everybody will be happy.
It sounds so good to be true.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much,
That's the
sir.
idea.
You kept emphasizing industry, so you didn't know what's going to happen. I'm going to shift our focus now from the universities to the industry. So our next panelist, she's in the industry, so she will tell us more. Thank you so much, my VC. So we have one of our panelists, Amarachi Agiri. Amarachi, are you here with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. You're so lucky. You've heard from both sides of the spectrum. So now just give us an industry, just give it to us from the industrial point of view, because we want to really make this work. This triple helix must, it's one thing to say it, another thing to practicalize it, to ensure that it's that we implement it. And so you should tell us whether it's possible or is it just a fantasy. I have a question for you. from an industry point of standpoint, what makes venture studios more effective than traditional incubation or acceleration models? There have been other models in the past. So what makes this a little bit different or is more effective? Yes, the floor is yours there.
All right, thank you, Prof. I would say standing on existing protocols. We've all greeted the panelists, my co-panelists. This is a very distinguished panel, I must say, and I feel very privileged to be part of it. And I would also want to thank the audience for attending this wonderful session for this quite impactful discourse. So from the industry perspective, it's good to hear that the government is doing something about it, and academia has also taken the initiative to also tow these paths as well. So if I'm to speak from the industry perspective, it just comes down to one thing, basically. It comes down to accountability in outcomes. In the traditional incubation that we've supported for the past years, the people in this incubation program are being supported. The ideas still need to come from theirs. They still need to execute it all by themselves. And they still, at the end of the day, need to present a solution that is actually viable, that is investable. So why they create the space for mentorship and maybe funding, the larger responsibility still lies on them. For the next model, which is accelerator model, they're being pushed. They already have something on the table, maybe, for example, an MVP of a product, or maybe a prototype or something that makes sense. And then they come to pitch it to investors. They still have to put in that work. They still have to do the research on what is the market saying. Everything, the responsibility, the burden of execution still lies on the startup. However, in the venture studio model, they don't just advise them, they join them to co-create, they join them to co-build, they join them to co-own the entire journey, right? From start to finish. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can hear you
all right.
clearly. It's making sense
Okay,
now.
yes, okay, and this just changes everything. And an example of this model is the Energy Technology Institute at University of Port Harcourt, right?
Yes.
It's an engine for research commercialization, and it leverages this venture studio model. And it says that from day zero, you're not just starting with a vague idea of what is the market saying. You're already going in real time to solve actual industry needs, actual problems, validated gaps in the industry, and you're going to follow a structured commercialization hypothesis. You're not saying, okay, let me try this if it works, right? So basically what I'm saying is the gap between the industry and the market and the academia is being filled in this model called venture studio model. And unlike the other models, it just covers everything you need for co-creation to the end of the journey, which is taking your research straight up to the markets and getting profits, which is what the industry is currently seeking, from my perspective.
Thank you so much, for this enlightening information. And I'm sure that our audience are beginning to understand, because now everything is coming together. Three of you together, the puzzle is now fitting in and making a lot of sense. I have another question. I would like to ask, how can digital transformation, so these digital transformation tools like AI, data platforms, innovation labs, how can they enhance collaborations between academia and industry?
Okay, honestly, the biggest issue I would say I have with or I've observed between academia and industry is not exactly the intelligence, because both parties actually have all the intelligence. Industry is working daily to provide solutions to their industries, basically solving problems daily. And research academia is providing results daily. But what's the disconnect between both parties is translation. So as a digital transformation specialist, what I do is provide tools that bridges the gap between these disconnects. So for example, AI and analytics can help them identify which research areas are do you have commercial potentials at? And what is the market saying about this? Do you have competitors, for example? You can do a quick search using large language models. You can also run analytics to see how your competitors are doing. So these are tools, you can use digital tools to do all of these things. You can share data platforms, research platforms. For example, the Renewal application that I'm sure many people are already familiar with is a collaboration platform, a digital tool that brings together everyone in the Triple Helix chain. You have the government there, you have the industry there, and of course, you have the academia there. Now, the industry can go into platforms such as Renewal with a problem and have researchers crowd solve this problem. So that's one way digital tool comes into solving this problem of co-creation, which is what Venture Studio is about. It just reduces the gap of trying to go through the decisions loop that, we have different checkpoints of decisions in industry, we have different checkpoints of decisions in academia. They have to close that loop before they now come together to say, okay, let's do this. It just closes that divide because now they can all come on one platform and everything is transparent, everything is centralized, everything is visible to everybody, and you can just go on without assumption or guesswork to just make things happen real time, and you just leave all that abstract layer behind. So digital tools is very recommendable for all this to achieving what we're trying to Triple Helix. Yeah.
Fantastic. The world is increasingly going towards AI, so I don't see how we're going to escape all this. So we need to ramp it up in our technological use in this country and Africa, indeed. So, what practical challenges do companies face when partnering with universities? And how can venture studios help bridge that gap? What do you think?
Okay, I'll say the first one I've noticed is the speed. As someone that I've worked in academia myself, because during my university time, I worked as a graduate teaching assistant. So I was supporting research efforts for my professor. And majority of what we're doing was also collaboration with industry. So even in a climate that works an environment that works like the European environment, you still have that shortfall of communication. You still have that shortfall of timelines not being in alignment. So the industry is driven by quarters. We want to see things happen fast. We want to see results. We want to push our products to the market before our competitors come and take our idea and then get the profit before us. So we're driven in quarters, while academia moves in semesters, and they have to be sure that whatever results that is coming out of their research is accurate, is vetted, is peer reviewed. So this kind of sets a lot of checkpoints. And if it now feels like the academia system is too slow and the pace of industry is too fast, so the collaboration becomes very tough between both parties. Because usually in the industry, if we want to achieve more speed, we throw more weight on it. We throw more money, we throw more resources, and we just get the results out ASAP. But you can't really rush research the same way by throwing more money or throwing more resources. Basically, it's not in alignment. And then the second thing I would say is a shortfall is incentive, right? And companies are driven by market impact, revenue, efficiency, and then research is driven by publication, grants, academic recognition. They have very different outcomes, basically. And then the third thing is the IP and commercial structuring. Ownership conversations can become very complex. You have legal negotiations slowing things down, and sometimes you can have a very strong research that don't have a commercial packaging. It's very good. It's for the good of humanity, right? But you can't sell that. You can't make profit out of it. So somehow industry be like, okay, we can support this with a grant, but it doesn't really benefit us to be in partnership to see this to the end. And some of those researches just get shelved, right? So that's kind of one of the things that venture studios um, comes to align. So from the get-go, you have an early structured already in front, and is already telling you how what you're trying to research on aligns with what the industry is currently interested in. um, you just already know upfront. So basically, what you're researching on is something that just goes straight, just follows a clear roadmap all the way to the market to present revenue generating profits and leaves the academia happy and leaves industry happy. And at the end of the day, would leave government happy because we still have to pay tax to the government. So basically, all this just venture studio is just there to act as a translator, and it just turns the knowledge of academia into the ventures that the industry is interested in. It just bridges the gap between both parties. And that's what I think about that.
Thank you for pointing those things out. I do know in the university settings, we always
Hello?
have a lot of
Okay.
bureaucracy, since a lot of paperwork. We're always trying to ensure that there's no loopholes, and so that's why we seem to be a bit slow. Plus, of course, in the industry, people have the cash, so with money everything moves fast. With us, we're still a little bit traditional. Don't worry, we'll catch up. Thank you so much. So, last question for you, because I'm looking at our time and we promised our audience that we will be out of here by 6:30, and I promise you we will leave here by 6:30. What skills or mindsets should researchers develop to become stronger collaborators in innovation-driven ecosystems? Yeah, what would you suggest? What skills or mindsets, should
Okay.
the researchers
Um,
develop? Yeah.
yes, so yes, so that question is quite interesting, Prof. Thank you so much for that. So I
Mhm.
would think, in my opinion, researchers don't have to reimagine how to act. Basically, they already have the right mindset of trying to create results that solves meaningful problem. So what they need to do basically is just to reshape the way they think about the results. How does it, what is their goal? For example, as a researcher, are you trying to research for good of humanity, or are you trying to research for profit, something that can be commercialized? Because now that would now shape how you see what your research is about, the outcome. What is your goal for starting your research in the first place will shape how you approach it. So if your research is something that you want to eventually commercialize, you then have to come to terms with what is currently commercializable in whatever industry you're researching towards, what is useful, not just what is novel, what is new, what is going to be useful real time, and what is it for? Is it going to solve a real world problem, or is it going to be in collaboration to an already existing problem that can still generate revenue? And does the industry really need this? Is there a market for it? How complex is it to convert this from results to product or to service? So all of this question comes in from, first, what is your goal, right? You have to define what your goal is first. And as a person, right, even in the industry, everything I've done is hinged on research. And I think people seem to forget that aspect of it. My company, Cypher Crescent, we first of all started as a research and development company. And what we're doing was heavily from first principle. All the solutions were built was built from first principle. And that's went through the roadmap of research, mathematics, physics, numerical methods, all of that was built into an algorithm that was finally converted into a front end and back end code that now builds the software we see and this we use in my digital transformation career path. All those tools I use, the core of it is research driven, and even business is research driven. So basically, the industry itself exists on research. So first of all, define what your objective is for carrying out your research parts, and then try to adjust it to serve that actual purpose. And that's what makes researchers strong collaborators in innovation-driven systems. That's what I'll say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Well,
you.
we have listened to our esteemed, distinguished panelists. They're giving us insights that I know that you all going to go back, we'll go home, have some thoughts about how we can actualize everything about the triple helix model. So the floor is now open. If you have any questions for any of the panelists, kindly raise up your hands and I'll give you the floor. You can ask any of them. Amarachi is here. Dr. Aina is here. Professor Paco is here. They are here to answer your questions. While I'm waiting for you to gather your thoughts to ask, just put up your hand if you have a question. I'll give you the floor. I think we have some questions in the chat box. And also, if you're having network issues, you can also write your question in the chat box. So I have a question. It's here in the chat box for Professor Peako. It says, how can universities structurally reposition their research ecosystems beyond publications to make them venture studio ready, particularly in terms of IP policy, proof of concept, funding, and entrepreneurial culture? Prof, that question is for you. I don't know. Do you want me to repeat the question? There's also a question for Amarachi. It says, from an industry perspective, what makes a university-derived innovation investable within a venture studio model? And what gaps do you typically observe in academic commercialization efforts? Dr. Aina, you're not left out, unfortunately. There's a question for you here which says, what policy, regulatory, or financing instruments are necessary to the risk venture studios operating within the Triple Helix framework, especially in emerging innovation ecosystems like Nigeria? So, panelists, any of you can take the floor and respond to the questions that were asked. Amarachi, do you want to go? Dr. Aina, do you want to respond? Professor Paco, my VC, do you want to respond to the question?
Okay, I can just go first.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you for the question. Thank you for the question. So, from an industry perspective, what makes the university-derived innovation investable within venture studio? So I would say the first thing is actually the main thing is clarity. Who will build it? What are you building for? Who are you building it for? What is the problem that you want to solve, basically? If you have all the clarity listed out, then the next thing is it investable? Because if what you're building is profitable to an organization, they are happy to back you up, not just financially, but they can back you up with a team to support you. They can back you up with marketing what you eventually produce. So you just need to be clear about the problem you want to solve and be clear about the markets you want to operate in and what is the pathway to generate the revenue, because industry comes in when there is a pathway for revenue generation. But if it's just going to be in results and for the good of humanity, they're happy to sponsor you with a grant. But first off, you need to be sure that what you're coming to research in actually have a pathway or a roadmap to generate revenue for whoever becomes your investor at the end of the day. That's what I would say. And that's what the venture studio comes to solve from the get-go, from day zero. You don't have to worry about thinking about ideas that have all of these things in one. The venture studio already tells you this is what the market needs, and this is a problem that's currently a challenge to us now. Put in your efforts here, your research efforts here, invest it here, and you get rewarded at the end of the day. That's the answer I would give. I hope I answered well.
Thank you so much. I hope that you've answered the question for the person who asked.
Hello?
Prof, yes, the floor is yours, my VC.
Yeah, you said what makes a venture in a university investable. I would say she has already answered from the industry perspective, which is quite very brilliant. I subscribe totally and fully to that. University on our own part, we have things that are unique. One, we are authentic. Any venture idea, any idea that has gone through ideation and it is accepted within all parties, your Triple Helix model, it meets all the necessary. Of course, a university would not go out of its way to do things that go contrary to the laws of the country. We are not going to be engaged in things that will hurt. Rather, we're targeting things which are needed. And so you can be very sure that any idea coming from the university, any startup from a university will have been able to be thoroughly scrutinized. That's what we do in academics. Industry will have really keyed into it to say that it holds a promise. It must have been looked at from all the perspectives to be able to solve particular problems that are peculiar to us. And our industry partner will have been able to see, like my colleague just said now, that at least it will make profits, it will solve problems, and there is a hope for it. One very key thing with private sector partners is that they rarely invest in things that they cannot break even and make profits. So university, we also have that credibility. Whatever it is we do, what is research, we consider ethics, we consider the safety, we consider the laws of the land, and therefore these are necessary ingredients that anybody will see and be able to invest in those things. So university as itself, if it hosts the venture studio, and if any idea coming from that is profitable by our industry partner, should ordinarily be seen as investable. That's the way I will contribute on my own part. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. We do have Dr. Aina. Are you still with us? I'm not too sure he's there.
Yes,
He's
I
been
am.
knocking.
Yes,
Do you want to respond to the question that was asked?
Okay, I think from what I saw here, it talks about what policy, regulatory, or financing instruments are necessary to de-risk venture studios operating within the Triple Helix framework, especially in emerging innovation ecosystem. Very, very clear. With respect to the policy, regulatory, I made mention that it's very important for us to look at national research to commercialization policy, which is going to help to institutionalize collaboration among government, academia, industry, and financiers, alongside dedicated research funding legislation, which is very critical. And I also mentioned that government is already working towards that, because there is Nigeria's proposed National Research and Innovation Fund, NRIF, which was basically the intention is to link financing to performance and to national impact. So if that particular intervention by the federal government or by the National Assembly, that particular regulatory framework is fully legislated and then consented to by Mr. President, then it's going to address a whole lot of issues and it's going to drive all of the collaboration between the academia, is going to drive that between the financiers, as well as it's going to look at the involvement of government. And I think that is where we should channel our strength to see how that particular institution can come into being. Up until now, you have pockets of those institutions, National Agricultural Trust Fund, which a lot of research institute from the universities leverage on. We have TED Fund that is doing quite a lot of those work, but then we know that the funds that are coming from TED Fund and the rest of them does not directly, in a way, dovetail into proper research funding for the university system. The reason is also because I've had opportunity to engage with TED Fund. I'm sure Professor Okeria knows that. We are already engaging with them, looking at how we can create pipeline of funding to support the university system. But I think basically if we look at the National Research and Innovation Fund, which is the NRIF funding, when it comes to full-blown legislation, I believe that is going to help to solve all of the problem of, in a way that can de-risk the venture studios that are operating both within the Triple Helix framework. So I believe it's just one way to go. But before then, I also believe there are pockets of international, funding platforms that the university community can leverage on, which also involve quite a number from World Bank, from IFC, from Development Bank of Nigeria, and also Bank of Industry. Yeah, the funding pipeline might be a little bit limited, but there are those pockets of funds that can help to support all of these particular one in a way that can de-risk the venture studios that are operating within the Triple Helix framework. So that is going to be my response to that. But I think government is already thinking along that side. And I believe the NRIF is going to address a whole lot of those issues within the framework of the Triple Helix component. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So we're gradually winding down. There is one question that is going to be a general question, but there's one specifically for Amarachi. And the rest of the questions, if there's no time to respond to them, we will collate them and send to the panelists. So the general question is, what do you think is the vision of Triple Helix in the next 10 years? And then, Amarachi, this was specifically for you. How can small and medium-sized enterprises effectively plug into Triple Helix innovation systems? This is the two questions I'm going to take because of our time. So, do any of the panelists want to answer the general question? Or Amarachi, do you want to go for your own question? It was specifically for you. What's the vision of the Triple Helix in the next 10 years? What's the vision? What do we expect or hope for? And Amarachi, your question is, how can small and medium-sized enterprises effectively plug into Triple Helix innovation systems? The floor is open. Floor is open, lady and gentlemen.
Okay, I can just take my question and I'll
Yes,
just leave
please.
my esteemed colleagues to take up the Vision 10-10-10.
Yes.
So, good question. For small and medium-sized enterprises, how can they plug into the THN innovation system? Um, uh, I think it still aligns with my initial conversation or discourse on having clarity. What is their goal as an SME and what's industry and how are they operating? What is their modus operandi? Like, what are they about? If an SME is innovation driven or research driven, research focused, that means they're already solving a problem, and maybe their challenge is scale. How do they scale that? How can they tie into what is ongoing to scale that? You can get the resources from the researchers. You can have researchers help you research on some of the challenges you're facing as an SME, and you can have them crowd solve your problem. For example, I mentioned Renewal as a tool for collaboration. An SME can say, okay, I have a client having this challenge. Can I get researchers as against retaining staff that will be solving problems on a running basis? You can ask checkpoints or interval, contact academia and say, I have this problem. Can you help me solve this problem? And we share from the profits. So you can tie into the entire deal of the Triple Helix, collaborating with academia to solve problems as they arise, as against having a full body of staff that you get to pay, and sometimes the business doesn't come as much as you'd like. So that I think that's one way you can benefit from this, and innovation systems as well, same model as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So our other panelists, will you want to give us, let's have what's your vision, what you think you expect for the future, the next 10 years for Triple Helix? What do you hope that, will be achieved? What's that vision? And is the vision visible considering our terrain and the many constraints? Yeah.
All right.
Dr. Aina?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you so much, Prof. I want to believe that Triple Helix is on the right path. And with the effort they are making, I believe they are going to solve a whole lot of problems that we are currently faced in Nigeria. I say this specifically because sometimes ago, I think in 2019, I had a visit to University of Delaware and University of Maryland, and I look at the effort, something similar that the Triple Helix was doing, and they took me to the garage. They call it the garage. That is midwiving a whole lot of research, related interventions, between the academia, industry, and government, but focusing largely on business, entrepreneurship, agriculture, and the rest of them. And I see the effort in terms of what they've been able to do with legislation, with policy initiatives and driving policy to be able to attract more funding and get expanded funding from the Congress. And at some point when we were leaving, they told us that the funding they have, as at 2019, they've not been able to utilize up to 20% of it. And now they are writing back to the Congress to see how they can repatriate some of those funds to Africa, where the university community within the African region can begin to leverage on that for research purpose. So I believe Triple Helix is on the right path. I think it's just a way now to begin to drive advocacy in the area of policy and then legislation framework, where government can be more involved to understand what the vision and the objective of Triple Helix Nigeria is all about, and how they can be fully involved in the legislation process, where certain laws can be made to help the university community, the academia, and even government, both the industry, in a way that they can partner together to begin to move that. So policy advocacy is one area that I just want them to focus more on. But in terms of doing the right thing, driving the right initiative and engaging the right audience, I give it to Triple Helix because that is a great effort that they are making. And I believe with this effort, they can go further, especially when strong advocacy is involved and more people are involved within the government who can push for legislation so that the visibility of the effort of Triple Helix can be more seen by others and can be more appreciated. That is what I want to say. But on that note, I think Triple Helix is doing quite a great job.
Thank you so much. Eukarya, the floor is yours. Quick comment from you. Eukarya.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Thank you, our esteemed panelists. I want to respond to the question that comes to us at Triple Helix Nigeria. What we should be doing in the next 10 years. We have a vision. We are not a visionless organization. We are driven by our bold vision, 10, 10, 10, 10. So these 10 10, this quadruple 10 as the anchor introduced at the beginning of this webinar revolves around having 10 knowledge institutions holding at least 10% equity in 10 listed companies within the next 10 years. That you can see is not symbolic, is a structural transformation in itself. So we want to reposition universities as work creators, not just knowledge producers. We want to see that universities or research institutions where knowledge is being created hold equity stakes in high growth companies, actively participate in governance of innovation venture, generate dividend income from intellectual property. So some examples have been given by Dr. Aina, how it is being done in developed countries. So Nigeria must localize that model. So we are building 10 scalable, 10 innovation listed driven companies. We are not aiming for small consultancies. We are aiming for technology driven companies. Research origin, like Amara said in her contribution, company listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange or equivalent platforms. So we are hoping that this company can emerge from energy transition, from agro processing, digital system, biotechnology, environmental technologies, advanced manufacturing. The key for us at Triple Helix Nigeria is scale, is governance, is listing, not survival level startups. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Unfortunately, I will not be able to take any more questions. Those that are already in the chat box, they'll be collated and sent to the panelists. I want to thank you. I want to say a big thank you to all our distinguished panelists for your thoughtful insights and to all participants for your engagement and contributions. Today's discussion has reinforced a critical point. Research commercialization is not merely about generating revenue, it's about generating relevance, impact, and sustainable partnerships. The venture studio model, as we have explored, offers a structured yet collaborative pathway for translating knowledge into innovation while deepening the strategic alignment between the universities, industry, and government. What stands out clearly is that effective triple helix collaboration requires more than good ideas. It demands intentional design, trust building, institutional flexibility, and a shared vision for societal transformation. As we conclude, I hope today's conversation inspires continued dialogue, experimentation, and cross-sector partnerships within our respective ecosystems. The future of innovation depends not only on what we research, but on how we collaborate to bring that research to life. Thank you once again for being part of this important conversation. I look forward to our continued engagement in advancing impactful and inclusive innovation systems. Thank you, everyone. And I told you I'll keep to time, and I think I did. So I'll call it
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, the moderator, for that wonderful session. It was quite a thoughtful engagement. But before we draw the session to a close, I want to sincerely thank you, our moderator, Professor Daisy, the panelists, Dr. Lucy G, Professor Aliyu, and Ms. Amarachi for their insightful contributions, and to our host, the President of Triple Helix Nigeria, for your leadership in driving the Triple Helix vision. Lending my voice to that of the moderator, sure, today's discussion on Venture Studio and their role in research, commercialization, and Triple Helix collaboration has highlighted the immense potential of aligning academia, industry, and governments to transform research into real-world impact. We have seen that Venture Studio are not just innovation hubs, but catalysts for building sustainable partnership and accelerating solutions that matter to society. I encourage us all to take the lessons shared here back to our institutions, organizations, communities, and to continue fostering collaboration that bridges knowledge and practice. On behalf of Triple Helix Nigeria, I thank you all for your active participation and engagement. Let us keep the momentum alive as we work together towards Vision 10-10-10-10. But before we go, I want to remind us of our Science-Based Conference that will be coming up by October 14th through 16th. Just keep tab on all our social media handles. You have more information on this. And as well, for those that were in our meeting yesterday, we need volunteers for the THN grants and proposal writing team. You can contact the secretariat for more details. And for memberships, those that are just joining us for the first time, please, we have different membership categories. You can also reach out to the secretariat on how you can join. On this note, those that have not registered, you can also click on the link to put your name or scan the QR code to register your name on the Triple Helix Nigeria database so that we can have your details for more information about Triple Helix Nigeria. But also reach out to the secretariat to on how to become a full member of Triple Helix Nigeria. So our next monthly meeting will be by March 25th, 2026. So these are the few announcements that we have from Triple Helix Nigeria. We'll be calling on the Vice President Innovation of Triple Helix Nigeria to give us just a few speech as we wrap up this section. Vice President, please, you have the floor as we go ahead to conclude the session. I'm sorry, we are just a minute past the hour of 6:30 p.m. and we will be closing any moment from now. Thank you, sir. Okay, in the absence of the Vice President, please, Professor Eukaria, can you take up the session, ma'am? Thank you.
Thank you so much, the coordinator of this meeting, Dr. Victor Lua. We have listened very closely to amazing speakers from the three sectors that drive the triangle in Triple Helix model. We also have listened to the masterful torch by the moderator. We had over 75 persons in attendance. It shows how interesting the topic of today is, because the topic attracted these people to be here before first being served a very sumptuous meal that will lead us to commercialization of our research efforts within our Nigerian ecosystem and even beyond to the region and the globe. So we want to thank all of us for doing a very wonderful job of keeping the room warm, because there were a lot of questions, interactions, and we want to thank very sincerely our moderator and our panelists for doing a sterling job. Thank you, our president, for keeping a touch on this very impactful tool of Triple Helix Nigeria webinar, where we have a dissemination table and bring very hard discussions on how we can move research into the marketplace, thereby solving societal problems. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof, for that thoughtful closing speech. Before we go, I want to remind us and also to inform us that the next webinar will be coming up by April on Thursday, 30th, 2026, same time, 5 o'clock p.m. to 6:30 p.m. West African time. And the theme is Entrepreneurial Universities and Vision 10-10-10-10, Reforming Governance, Incentives, and Innovation. It's also going to be a unique and a strategic session for all of us. And I know we are going to enjoy it. And if you know you enjoyed this session today, I want you to use your most lovely emoji to give a thumbs up or a thank you greetings to the moderator and our panelists as we say goodbye and good night to all of us. See you during our next webinar series. Thank you very much. You use your best emoji, your lovely emoji, to say thank you to our lovely moderator, to the panelists as well, and to the leadership of Triple Helix Nigeria. Thank you all, and bye for now.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye. Oh.
Bye.
Good.
Nice one.